The Denver Broncos and Sean Payton are under investigation. The whole saga around the benching of Russell Wilson is complicated and is just going to continue to grow more complicated by the day. In this video, we're going to break down all of the angles, why I know that the investigation is currently going on right now, and it's just going to keep ramping up. Will that investigation create a hot seat for Sean Payton? Everything that I'm saying in this video is not something that I condone. It's just like a direction and it's observations that I'm feeling. I am 100% happy that we have Sean Payton. I think he is the kind of coach who can get us to the promised land. He got the winless, hapless joke of a team in the New Orleans Saints to the Super Bowl, and now he is the richest owner in sports, some of the best fans in sports, and he has all the building blocks to get us there. But I want to break down all of the investigation that's going on, starting with the report that just came out that this Russell Wilson thing is far from over, and an insider in the situation said that Sean Payton is messing with the wrong guy. So the fact that Russell Wilson came out and specifically mentioned that the NFLPA is already involved in this, to kind of clarify here, Sean Payton cannot ask him to remove his injury guarantee for financial reasons only. That would be against collective bargaining. He has every right to cut Russell Wilson and say it's a football decision, but he is not allowed to come out directly and say, remove your injury guarantee for financial reasons only. And that's what Russell Wilson painted. So that is why, conversely, you see Sean Payton going over and over and over with the fact that this is a football decision. That's why Russell Wilson is the backup. If this was a financial decision, we would have sent him home. We wouldn't even have him on the practice field. We wouldn't even risk it. And so you see those two sides coming out. But let's go back to some other suits that have happened with Sean Payton named in them, and what have happened and why I know this is currently ongoing. So if you remember the last big NFL investigation to go down before Bountygate, before Deflategate, or rather after Bountygate, after Deflategate, was the Dolphins. And now in this next draft pick, or this next NFL draft, the Dolphins are without a draft pick because they were tampering trying to get Tom Brady, and then they were tampering trying to get Sean Payton. So you already see that the NFL has a looking glass, has a magnifying glass on Sean Payton. He had a year-long suspension for Bountygate, even though all of the reports say that every other NFL team had some sort of pay for injury, pay for hard hit type situation. You hear multiple NFL teams on other organizations say, yeah, we had a whiteboard, and we give people extra points for hard hits. But it was Sean Payton who Roger Goodell does not like. You heard Sean Payton in that Seth Wickersham article earlier this year talk about how his teams are the most penalized team in football. So you see the fact that the NFL already kind of is going after Sean Payton. They not only went after him in Bountygate, but look, he was the center of the Dolphins being punished because the Dolphins were trying to discuss signing him while he was currently under contract. You see right here that they reached out to Sean Payton's agent right here about Sean Payton becoming the Dolphins head coach. Well, the punishment for that was a loss of a first and a third round draft pick, which is so steep. Like, can you imagine? We're upset enough that we've lost multiple picks. At least we had a shot at Russell Wilson in that. Imagine giving up a first and a third round pick and having nothing to show for it. I think that's a really, really discouraging thing to be in if you are the Dolphins. And one of the things here that was most interesting to me is that this investigation was, I'm trying to look for the actual wording of it, was a 6-month investigation that tied up and ended up being announced right in the summer. So when these investigations are launched, they're not going to start subpoenaing, they're not going to start checking your email and your voicemail in the middle of the season while you're prepping for a team. But when the season is over, rest assured that this investigation will be happening. Was Russell Wilson threatened for financial reasons only to renege on portions of his contract? So here is the actual wording from the NFLPA, and let me read this one really important part of it, is that if the Broncos follow through on the club's threat, the club's threat being, hey, we're going to bench you. Well, guess what? They benched him. The club will violate the collective bargaining agreement, Mr. Wilson's contract, and New York law. And we're particularly concerned that the Broncos still intend to commit these violations under the guise of a coaching decision. Well, that's exactly what they are going to be saying as part of this investigation, that Russell Wilson was benched under the guise of a coaching decision. So it's going to be up to Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos to prove that this was not a guise, that truly Jarrett Stidham was the best player for the team, the best player for our future. This was not made just because of financial reasons. So this is going to get hairy. Rest assured that these investigations hit as soon as the season is over, that you can be sure that this investigation will be taking place. And one of the reasons you can be sure of it is that Russell Wilson wouldn't have come out and fired that shot and said the NFLPA got involved. Literally, he said those words. You remember during arbitration when John Elway was brought in the summer during the Colin Kaepernick situation. So here, hypothetically, I started to think to myself, like, if Sean Payton does end up taking the fall for this, and I don't think that would be justified, but if the Broncos were to have to lose a first and a third round draft pick and we'd burned a bridge with Russell Wilson, like, that seriously sets our franchise back. Could Sean Payton be on the hot seat? And I just started thinking about some of the different like fiascos and reasons that Sean Payton could be on the hot seat just for this year. And I thought all of this is kind of shrouded in a checkered past, with him being the Bountygate coach of Bountygate and that year-long suspension. You see all of the media leaks in that giant Seth Wickersham piece where he said Russell Wilson needs to stop kissing babies. He did things that you heard Nathaniel Hackett come out and say, I've been a coach or a coach's son my whole life, and you never talk about other coaches like that. He crossed the third rail. So you saw him do that. You saw him cut a fan favorite, a Pro Bowler, and Brandon McManus, and get Lutz, who missed a bunch of field goals and lost us our first game. You see he was super unconventional, kicked the media out of training camp. He violated maybe league rules with this threat, which could cost the Broncos a bunch of draft picks. The biggest loss in franchise history, letting the Miami Dolphins drop 70 points on us. That meltdown of Russ on the sideline. You just see now like the media truly piling on right now and saying stuff like calling him a thug, calling him a bully, really like spotlighting this. You see this here on ESPN. Let's be honest, Sean Payton has behaved as a thug. And so it's just all of these kind of things that make me wonder, like, man, if you are the richest owner in sports, do you see all of this and say, man, maybe I don't want Sean Payton to be my coach? Again, I really hope this doesn't happen, but all of this was just really interesting to all happen at once. I think the other interesting thing is, like, if you're choosing between Russell Wilson or Sean Payton, you can cut Sean Payton today and pay him the rest of it. The coach's salary does not count against your salary cap. And so if you're choosing between Russell Wilson or Sean Payton, the best financial choice would be Russell Wilson. I don't think that's the best football choice. Again, I really hope that doesn't happen. I wrote Kareem Hunt here. I meant Kareem Jackson. Like you heard with just utmost confidence, Sean Payton say Kareem Jackson is going to get through waivers and he'll be back playing next week for us, playing his final 2 games as a Bronco, and then he doesn't make it through and Houston grabs him. That was a debacle. Cutting Randy Gregory, even though we dropped a ton of money, a lot of dead cap space is going to Randy Gregory, and then same thing with Frank Clark. And then lastly, you just see a ton of complaining by Sean Payton about our lack of tight end production, yet in training camp, he traded Albert Okwuegbunam for pennies on the dollar, when it's like you can't say I'm hamstrung by not having a tight end and then trade your tight end who's like hurdling dudes in the preseason, who's shown up and played pretty well for us with Drew Lock as his quarterback. You can't talk out of 2 sides of your mouth. So all of that to say, I really hope this does not happen. I hope that this investigation goes smoothly, that Sean Payton is cleared of all wrongdoing. I think the fact that he wasn't benched immediately, that they approached him and then it happened 7 weeks later, and the fact that if it really was about injury, we wouldn't have him lacing up his cleats and practicing. That, we see Tim Patrick tear his ACL one year on the practice field and then tear his Achilles on the next year. And so being on the practice field is dangerous. And so having Russell out there, if it was only about that cap hit, that would not be the fact. And then you would not have him as your backup quarterback. Like, Jared Stidham could have an equipment malfunction where his chin strap doesn't go on and Russell Wilson has to go out there and play a play, or Stidham could get a concussion and Russell Wilson has to play. We didn't even sign DiNucci back to the 53-man roster. We only had 2 quarterbacks suited up on Sunday for the Chargers and probably again for the Raiders. So I hope all of this ends up being an okay thing for the Broncos. I hope Sean Payton isn't on the hot seat. I hope we can move forward. I hope this is my last. It's not even a negative video. I just call things as I see them. But I cannot wait to break down Broncos Pro Bowl selections. Those come out in just about an hour here. But buckle up, Broncos country, because we're making the playoffs next year. Thanks.